So this is what we're going to make today, a beautiful natural looking sunlight moving across the sky, and you can use it to light up your scene both indoor and outdoor. Okay, I know that we're going to make it and you can make it for free, but if you'd like to get this scene, the blend file and the animation and render, uh, and you would like to support the channel or at least the things that we do on the channels, uh, you can get this on my Gumroad store for a few dollars. Okay, that's it. Now let's go straight to the tutorial. So, welcome back to Positive Korean Garage, and today we're going to talk about one of the most important thing for life on Earth, and as well as for the life in Blender. We're talking about the sun, especially the sunlight. Okay, I know that it's going to fall under the category of lighting, and as you would probably know that lighting is not a very kind of original idea to play around with, because if you go for the lighting in Blender, you would notice that there's a lot of people already make that. I mean, like Blender Guru has made that. Uh, uh, but if you notice that all of these, lighting tutorials, they're gonna talk about, like 3-point lighting or interior lighting or uh, studio lighting or something like HDR lighting. Uh, yes, like this one HDR and or cinematic lighting, for example. And yeah, I mean, like that's kind of cool. But if you notice that there's kind of one type of lighting that is kind of left out of conversation, and that is the sunlight. I mean, like that's one of the light that doesn't seem to be entering the popular uh, set of lighting. So anyway, if you go let's check it out. Let's say sunlight in Blender, and yeah, not so much, is it? I mean, like there's gonna be people making the sun, not the sunlight itself, but just the sun. And yeah, this one is in Blender. It's pretty cool, and this is the real sunny. Yeah, I mean, like there's not a lot of them, is it? I mean, yeah. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be where we're going. I mean, like we're gonna make a natural sunlight in Blender, because uh, the thing is, I kind of understand the reason why uh, sunlight is not very popular uh, to play around with, to use in Blender, because if you go to Blender right now, you will see that this is the most common light, is, as you would probably know, is the point light, right? This one. And that's pretty good, because that's one of the most natural looking light, is it? I mean, like this is the standard light, so everyone knows that. And yeah, they behave like a light bulb, for example. And if you go for something like let's say the spotlight, this behaves more like uh, wait, says let's get it something like 100. No, 1,000. The standard cube is way too big, so let's make it like 20 centimeter, and this one is 2 meter, and yeah, 100 is more than plenty. So this is the sunlight, and this is the spotlight. I mean, and this works like a flash in your phone, or something like a flashlight, something like that. And that's the spot, and the area light, they behave a little bit more like a screen light, something like your phone screen or your TV screen, something like that. And yeah, they behave like normal light. You see, I mean, like, what I mean by that is that light behaves in a certain way that basically the law is basically called inverse square law. It basically means that so let's bring our spot our this light back, and let's put it at something more of a reasonable place, right? Something like here, and let's make some sort of a plane. Yeah, that is way too high. Something like that. Okay, now let's put it up a little. So, one, probably. Sorry, wait, one. Now, so this is what it means by the law of the light, or the inverse square law. As you can see that there is this kind of fading of the light. This is the light source, and as you can see that as this travels farther away from the light source, they get a little bit more dimmer or a little bit fading. So and this applies to all other light. So for example, the spotlight, same thing. I mean, like, let's move it here and let's rotate there, and you would see that it still happened the same way. I mean, like, this area is going to be a little bit more lighter, and this, as this goes towards the edge here, it's going to be a little bit dimmer, and that's how normal light works. Same thing with area. And area here, let's put it there, and let's rotate it. Same thing, it's a little bit less seeable because the area is kind of big. But if, let's say that we make it smaller, let's make it, yeah, it doesn't really affect because it's area. So, but you can still see that actually, that here it's going to be a little bit lighter. As it travels to the left, it's going to be a little bit more dimmer. And yeah, this tree light behaves like a normal light, as you would probably, as you have seen in real life. And as we switch to a sunlight, let's make a sun and go to the top, and let's make it a little bit stronger. It doesn't really, if you try to do that thing, you would notice that this is exactly flat. I mean, like, there is no fading at all. I mean, like, that is just one same object, or one same intensity on all objects across the plane. You can make another, let's duplicate this one, the cube, and put it on the very edge, and these two cubes get exactly the same amount of intensity of the light. And that is kind of the things that throw us off the balance here. That's the reason, one of the reasons why many people doesn't really use the sunlight, because it doesn't really look natural in a way that even though that we know actually that that is kind of the way how sun works, right? I mean, like, if you stand on top of a building and then you stand somewhere on the pavement of the road, you will get exactly the same amount of light, right? It's not like if you stand in like a 10 stories high store, you will get more sunlight. No, that's not how it works. But it just doesn't look right when you put it in Blender, right? So yeah, I mean, like, today what we're gonna do is we're gonna fix this kind of artificial sun, and we're gonna make it a real sun out of that. So if we open another Blender, let's open this, and this is what I came up with in the final run of the sunlight. So yes, so this is the thing. So you just have, so this is the final thing, right? So it looks a little bit like this, right? It goes from this dawn, right? From a really dark blue, uh, when it's kind of sunset, it's kind of around the twilight at dusk, and then they go up and to the top at noon, and then eventually they go back down to the other side, and they get this yellow afternoon light, and then eventually they go back to this twilight of the sunset, and boom, back to the darkness of the night. So that's what we're gonna do today, and that's kind of gonna, this is gonna be very easy to fix, or at least to do. So yeah, let's get it down. So what you need is, okay, we can use this. Let's just make one of interesting thing. Let's make, let's put a monkey there, right? Let's scale it down, maybe, yeah, something like that, right? So let's give some division. Okay, that's cool, right? So this is our object, right? So the first thing that we're gonna do is that maybe I should open my Photoshop to kind of illustrate the sun, how the sun should behave. So probably you kind of already know how the sun behaves. I mean, like, we have seen sun, right? So the first thing that we're gonna do is that this is the horizon. Okay, this is the horizon, and then it's the object, and the first thing that we're gonna do is to kind of move the sun. As you probably know, that the sun rises from the east and then they set on the west, right? So they kind of do that thing, right? They go from here, this point to that point. So they kind of rotate around an axis there, right? So yeah, that's the first thing that we're gonna do. So this is gonna be the noon, this is gonna be morning, and this is gonna be afternoon, right? So that is the east-west movement of the sun, right? So let's make that. So let's put our sun at something like far away. So the other thing that kind of makes the sun not very intuitive is that you would notice that it doesn't really matter where you put it on the scene, right? You can put it 100 meters tall and the monkey will still get the same light intensity. So that is another thing that we kind of not accustomed to. So yeah, so let's put it into a distance that's not gonna interfere with your scene. So 10 meters sounds pretty good for me. So it doesn't really matter. You can put it 20 meters or whatever. So that the point is that so that it doesn't interfere with your scene. So 10 meters looks good for me. And okay, that is the sun. So next we're gonna make an empty, right? It's gonna empty, and let's make the size something like 10 millimeters, so it's not too big. So this one we're gonna call it sun east west, right? So okay, that's it, and we're gonna put the sun. Oh, probably this is a good idea for me to start the shortcut thing. And the sun. Okay, the sun, let's parent it to our empty. So that's object, and right now we can control the movement of the sun with this empty, right? So if we rotate it 90 degrees around the y-axis, you would see that the sun is coming from the left. Sorry, the monkey's left or ours right. And as we rotate it, they will go around, right? So, and then go back down. Okay, that's the first thing, right? So, okay, that is the first thing. And next, what we're gonna do is to give, if you go back to kind of the template here, you would notice that as we, let's put it back, and so, yeah, so if you rotate it, so let's put it into back to the dawn. As you rotate it, you would notice that the color of the sun changes as the time for the day moves. It's something that you would probably notice as well, right? I mean, like at noon, it's gonna be like this bright blue light, right? And as it goes into the afternoon, it's gonna be a little bit. Let's put back in our Photoshop. Noon is gonna be kind of a blue light, and the afternoon is gonna be a little bit more yellow, right? And then when it comes to when it's gonna be very near the sunset or the sunrise, it's gonna be this orange color, and yeah, that is gonna the change of the color of the sun, and we're gonna try to make that in Blender. So yeah, let's do that. So first, let's make this bigger so that, yeah, that sounds great. And this one, let me make it a little bit bigger too. Put it up. Okay, now, so let's go back to shading, and let's put it in the shaded mode, and we're gonna open our sun, right? So if you click this use node, you would see these two things. If you don't, it's not gonna be there. So yeah, let's do that. So this is gonna be the slot that we're gonna deal with a lot, the color, because this is where everything is controlled, right? So this is where the color of the sun is going to be controlled, right? So yeah, to change the color of the sun according to the rotation, or at least the location of the sun, we're going to need a mixed RGB, right? So, and yeah, so let's deal with that, and let's connect the color to color. And first, let's put the factor into 0. So this is how it works, right? So if the factor is 0, it's gonna use the color 1. And when we turn it into 1, when we turn the factor into 1, it's gonna use the color 2. So for example, if we turn the color 2 into something like this bright red, it doesn't change, but if you slide it to 1, it's gonna be this bright red as we assign to the color 2. So that's the basic of base RGB. So okay, now we have this shade, this mix shader, and so on the color 1, what we're gonna fill this color 1 is gonna be this bright blue color, right? So the color of the sun at noon. So it's gonna be something like, maybe something like this, probably. You know, it's cool blue sun. Maybe it's a little bit bluer. Yeah, no. Yeah, maybe 0.25. Okay, that's cool, right? This is the color of at noon, right? So we're gonna change. We're gonna change to the color at, you know, something like afternoon, right? And it's gonna be a kind of bright yellow. I would say that maybe something like this. Okay, and yeah, this is gonna be the color of at afternoon, right? So same thing here. This is gonna be the color, this yellowish color. So yeah, that's it for the mix RGB, and we're gonna control this change of color with the rotation of our empty, right? So let's do that. So first, let's right click the factor and add driver, right? So we're gonna open drivers editor, and here it is. So we're gonna see here in this drivers tab, and we're gonna select the object as the empty, the sun, east, and west, right? So let's select that, and we're gonna change the type to Y rotation. We're gonna change the space to local space, right? So okay, I've checked the thing, and for now we're gonna change this to local space later, but for now we're gonna use the world space, right? So if you turn it to world space, it's gonna show the right value, right? The sun west is at 90 degrees, so this also showing 90 degrees. So oh, sorry, I've also written the expression. So we're gonna do the expression, right? So the thing that we want, just like I pointed out earlier, so we want at 90 degree rotation of the sun east west, we want the factor to turn into 1, and when it rotates to 0, it goes back to color 1. Sorry, that at 90 we want to go to color 2, at 0 rotation we want to go to color 1. So this is what you're gonna do. Of course, there's gonna be a little bit of expression going on, and there's gonna be a little bit maths, but as far as you should know is that this, the first thing that you're gonna know is that in here it's not, the rotation is not written in degrees, right? It's actually written in radians, and radians is basically yeah, that is the radians. Radians is basically 180 degrees divided by pi. So yeah, we can use that. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna write is far. Far is this thing, far. And as you can see that right now, if you just type far, they will come up with 1.5771, just like this one. And we're gonna have to turn this into degrees, right? So what we're gonna do is multiply that with 180, and we're gonna divide that by pi so that we get 90 degrees. So that's what we're gonna, that's the first step. And however, you would notice that the mixed RGB shader only accounts from 0 to 1. So we gotta scale the 0 to 90 to 0 to 1. And the way to do that is, well, it's kind of simple. We just have to kind of divide it by 90, right? So yeah. So right now, if you go back to our sun west empty, that works pretty well, right? So when you rotate it in the Y direction, you will see that they change color right there. And yeah, that's pretty good. Probably I'm gonna change this not to 0.5, but 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 is good. Right, so that's cool. This is they start at the east and go to the top. And now this is another problem that we're gonna have to deal with, is that as you would notice that as we go to the negative value, it doesn't work, right? So you will see that it remains blue for yeah. So we're gonna go back to our sun, and as you will notice that the reason why the color doesn't change is because the factor turns to negative value, And well, we're gonna have to fix it, and to fix that is kind of quite easy. We just have to put it in a bracket, and in front of it we just have to type abs, standing for absolute. So yeah, now as you can see now that the color changes normal, right? So boom, it goes to yellow, goes to blue, and back to yellow. And that's what we want. So next thing what we're gonna do is that, as you would notice, that the thing that changes is not only the color though. It's something that you would notice in with the sun, that you see in actual life, is in the real life, is that they also change intensity, right? So at noon it's gonna be very, very bright, and as it goes to the afternoon or in the morning, it's kind of a somewhere, you know, it's more soothing, it's easier on the skin, easier on the eyes, and so the intensity is lower. And at sunrise or sunset, it's gonna be this very soft intensity, right? So yeah, that's also the things that we gotta control with the rotation of our MT, right? So let's go back to our sun. Let's put it back to 0, and we gotta control this strength, right? So sorry for that. The strength, we're gonna deal with the strength, and let's see. Let's play around with it. So I'm thinking that, let's see, maybe 10 is pretty good. Let's rotate it. Yeah, I think 10 is pretty good. So the thing is, let's go with 10, right? So what's happen if it's 1? It's too dim. So I think for the afternoon it's gonna be 10, and at noon it's gonna be something like, I don't know, 100 probably. It's very bright. The thing is, this thing is kind of a small, so it's gonna be looking a little bit washed up. But if you gotta put real objects on the scene, like this room, actually, sorry, this is, let's see, the sun here is 90 in strength, and to be honest, this is actually a good number, because this is how it would look like in the bright noon, right? So we gotta go with this strength 90, and you can go for 100, but for the sake of rotation, the rotation is like 90 to 0. So I think that 90 is gonna be a good number. It's gonna be easy for the formula as well. So yeah. So let's do that. So I'm thinking, what's happened with that? Yeah, I kind of wonder the difference between this strength here and the strength here. Yeah. Okay, now let's play with this string over here, and let's add another driver, and let's open drivers editor. Let's go to strength, and we're gonna select our sun east-west empty, and we're gonna change the Y rotation, because that's how this is rotated. This rotates in the Y direction, and yeah, so let's go back. Y rotation in the world space for now. We're gonna change that later, and we're gonna do basically the same thing with far. So multiply by 180 and divided by pi. So right now you would see that, well, it doesn't really work. It works the other way around, right? So it's when it's 90, the sun is, the strength of the sun is 90, but as it rotates to 0, the sun, it has 0 strength, and that is the other way around. So we want the strength to be 90 when it's 0 rotation, and then 0 strength when it's 90 degrees rotation. So to do that, we're just gonna have to put something at the front, 90 minus, and put it in the bracket. So this way, it is the other way around. So if we rotate it, right now with 0 rotation, it's 90, and when you rotate it to the dusk, it will change to this beautiful dim color, and before, when it's 90, it's gone 0, right? So yeah, so I think it also have the same problem with the other way around, right? And no, yeah. So let's see. It has a problem with the other way around because right now it's really, really bright. As you can see that the strength is practically 180. The reason why is because it's 90 minus, and if the thing inside the bracket is also a minus, which is minus 1.5, so it's going to be a plus. Minus multiply minus is positive or plus. So we're going to add another absolute here, and voila, now it works back like a charm. So if you rotate it to the minus 90 degree, it's also dim, and bright goes back to dim. And yeah, that is the color changing and the strength changing control. Now the next thing that we're going to do is actually not with the sun itself, because the sun is already cool, but with the world, right? So if you go back to our final stuff, you would notice that the thing that changes is not only the color of the sun, but I think before that we're gonna have to deal with this twilight situation, because this, I think, is very beautiful. The thing is, I noticed that when it's on the twilight, the sun appears this reddish, cool reddish color before it transitioned into this yellow color, and they happen in the very, very tiny window, right? Because it's very, very quick thing before it turns into yellow. So we're gonna try to emulate that in our color first. So let's go back here, and so let's put it into maybe 85, right? So in this point, we want this to be this bright pinkish color. So let's go back to our drivers editor, and let's open our sun, and shader. Let's go to shading. So here's the thing, we're gonna duplicate our mix RGB, and we're gonna put this color into color 2 socket. So the first color is gonna be this color, and then the color number 2 is gonna be the color of the twilight. So I'm thinking the twilight is this beautiful red, pinkish red, something like that. And yeah, this is the color that I have in mind. And so next thing that we're going to do is just to deal with this factor thing. So let's add another driver, open drivers editor, and put the object as the sun is west empty. same thing, Y rotation, world space for now, and same for 180, 90, right? So that's what we gotta, okay. I think we're gonna put absolute, sorry, not 90, it's pi, and we're gonna put absolute in it. So yeah, that is sorry, another 90. So let's go from 0 to 1, and yeah, however, this is exactly the same. What we want is that this color of the Twilight only goes for a very small fraction, right? So to do that, what we're gonna do, probably, let's open our this, and if you go to shading, I've done exactly the same thing. Let's open drivers editor, and so this is a little bit complicated, to be honest. So what we're gonna do is that, remember, put it back in the bracket so that it's not get confused, and voila. Now, so let me explain what it is. So remember that the far, maybe I'm just gonna rewrite it, right? So if you go here with this formula for multiply 180 and divide by pi, it's gonna get this rotation, right? And next, what we're gonna do is that we want to subtract that with 80, right? So 80, right? So that's how we get only 5, right? So from this, we gotta divide that by 10, right? Because the distance from the difference between 80 and 90 is 10 degrees. So yeah, that's the logic behind this. And so right now, if you turn this to here, right, it still go there before it turns to this beautiful thing, beautiful Twilight. And let's check the other way around. I suppose it doesn't really work. Yeah, that doesn't work because we have to add another, sorry for that, another pi, sorry, absolute there, and yeah. Oh no, I think we put the absolutes a little bit. No, let's change that. This should be the absolute, and this absolute pi, add another, this one, okay, and multiply by 10. Oh, okay, now that works. So you should make this first thing, the base absolute first, before you subtract 80 out of it, right? So that's what we did. And yeah, so now if you go to here, it works, and it goes here, it works as well. Now, yeah, that's cool. Now let's check, and I think we're gonna have to make this a little bit more punchy. The color of the afternoon is gonna be, let's make it 1. Yeah, that's this beautiful afternoon, very strong color, and when it reaches for the dawn or the dusk, it's gonna be this softer red, and it's beautiful. And yeah, now let's see this beautiful, yeah, it's good. Now, so the next thing that we're gonna do is to probably we're gonna have to deal with this. Oh, maybe later. So the next thing that we're gonna do is to deal with the world, right? So let's go back here. As I've pointed out earlier, that the thing that changes when the sun moves across the sky is not only the color of the sun and the intensity, but also the color of the sky, right? So, of course, you don't need HDR or anything. You can just you can change it with Blender's default setting, and that you can find it under here. Let's see in our in this blank space. It's very much controlled in here in the world properties under the color right here. This is where you can change it, and so if you select this, you can change to pure white, pure black, or you can give it a little bit color as well, and yeah, so this is what we're gonna control next with the rotation of our empty, right? So let's put, so at noon, I'm gonna put the color as this 0.5, this beautiful blue light as much, and I think the color of the sun and the world is gonna be this color but a little bit more saturated, right? So you can copy the color with Control C, and you can paste that here, and you're gonna slide it with the saturation, and we're gonna turn it into something like 0.55 so that we get this blue sky color. And yeah, this is the color of at noon, right? So we're gonna put another mix RGB on this color. Let's go back to our shading, and to control the world color, you just have to change this from object to world, right? So this is the color, and yeah, so we're gonna introduce our mix RGB, and we're gonna put the color into color 1, because remember how this works, right? So when it's 0 rotation, we want color 1, and when it's 90 or minus negative 90, we want color 2. So let's connect the socket, and when it is, let's go to our sun. When it goes 85 at dawn, we want the world to be this beautiful richer. This is something that I noticed when dawn or dusk comes, is that the sky becomes this dark rich blue in color, right? So we can use this color, sorry for that, and we can reduce the value to dark color, something like 0.1, and we can turn the saturation up, something like 0.9, and we push the value down a little bit more, and probably change the hue to something like 0.6, so you get this warm color, warm blue color when it's at dawn, and probably 0.01. Yeah, that is good. So that is the color that we want at dawn, right? So next we just have to use we're gonna have to control the factor with the sun, the rotation of the sun, east-west rotation. And to do that, we don't have to do anything new. We just we can practically change this thing. We can use this thing. We just have to copy driver, go back to world, and we're gonna paste driver here, right? So here we go. It's beautiful, right? So let's try it. So this is noon, right? Blue sky, blue light, gray, and as it goes in the morning and goes to dawn, it becomes this rich dark blue in color. So this is how it should look like in dawn before it goes to the crack of the dawn. And it rises, it turns to yellow, then it turns to brighter blue, and before it turns back to kind of this dark blue color, right? So that is cool, right? So, however, I'm gonna fix some. First of all, I'm gonna put saturation a little bit more, and probably 0.6. Yeah, the blue sky is more like that. 0.75 probably. Yeah, that is cool. So let's give it a little bit more try. Voila, beautiful, and beautiful as well. Voila. So, however, I think yeah, that is cool. Yeah, it's very close to final, I think. And yeah, so the next thing that we're gonna do is actually to create another empty to control. So here's the thing: the sun moves from east to west, right? But that's not the only trajectory that it follows, because the sun also moves from north to the south, right? Not north to the south, at least from north to the top, right? So let's go back to our Photoshop, and so wait. So here's the thing. So if you stand here and we create this three-dimensional thing, so this is east and this is west, right? So the sun moves that, right? But also they move from this to here, something like that. So this is north, sorry, and this is south. So it doesn't move from north to south, but from north to the top of your head at least. So it moves from that to that. So yeah, so they have two trajectories, and depending on where you live, the changes of the season. This is basically the changes of the season. So for example, at summer, this is where the sun is gonna be, right? And at winter, this is where the sun is gonna be. So the trajectory of the sun is more like that, right? So it's a little bit more angled in a way. So at the winter, for example, your shadow is gonna be a little bit longer because they keeps coming at an angle. So yeah, let's try to do that, and let's make it empty. Already did, and let's call it sun north south, I think. And we're gonna put the sun is west under here and here. So yeah, so this is what I mean. So for example, at equinoxes, basically at spring or fall, usually this is going to be something like 45 degrees. So they kind of this is also when we should change this entire thing. So if you go to shading, we should change this. This is the time when we change this from world space to local space, right? So wait, open the sun, and so why is my cursor turn okay, So let's reopen our drivers editor. Okay, now we're going to change this from world space to local space, because as you can see right now, this changes as we change the value of our sun north, our sun north south, right? So that's not good. So we want it to remain the same. So we're going to change it to local space. So that's cool, right? The world, also the object, is changed to local space, as well as this one, local space. So this one, let's see, the strength, local space, this was local space, good, that's good, and this, yeah, that's cool. So let's check the entire thing. So if you go there, it still works. And okay, now we can change our sun north with confidence. Now the sun north south empty is gonna moving from north to south, so it's gonna move in the X direction, right? So yeah, so for example, let's try 45, and so yeah, so the sun is gonna moving at an angle like that. So this is the dusk. Oh, the world, oh, sorry, the world hasn't been changed. The shadow, okay, it's still the local space. Cool. Now go back to here. It's tidy. Dusk. Okay, it's sunset, up, morning, noon, afternoon, and back to dawn, and it's twilight. Voila. Now, this is what I mean by long shadows, because usually at the winter they're kind of a little bit longer shadows, because they are always in this perpetual angle. And yeah, for example, if you go something like winter or something, actually it's pretty lower, something like that. It also depends on where you live though. If you live something like, I don't know, Canada, something like pretty extreme when it comes to latitude wise, you will have a pretty long shadows at any given time of the day. So yeah, so here's the comparison, right? So this is at, you know, at dusk when it's 75. Meanwhile, if it goes to 0, it looks like that. So it's pretty much a big difference. And yeah, so before it goes here, so just notice how long that shadow is comparably when you are something in, you know, like summer, like that, right? So yeah, it's pretty big difference. And yeah, that's pretty good. And the next thing that we're gonna do is actually, so here's the thing, something that also that I noticed about the sun is that as it goes, you know, afternoon and then it goes to dawn, it becomes softer somehow. I don't know why, and physically I can explain it, but basically, yeah, it's gonna be very long explanation, but basically it has to do with atmospheres. So at dawn, the sun has more to travel when it comes to our atmosphere. So if we go back to our Photoshop, It's actually the same reason why sunset the sun changes color to more yellow and red at dawn, because so here is us, right, standing, and when the sun, so this is our atmosphere, right, and the sun goes this way at noon. So at noon the sun only has to travel this far, right? So meanwhile at dawn, so as you probably know that our world is rounded. It's basically an ellipse ball, and so when you stand here, uh, so this is at noon. This is the cover they have to carry. They have to travel, and when at dawn or at sunset, so this is here is the sun, and the sun basically now has to travel this far to reach to the ground. So they have this kind of more distance to travel around, and those our atmosphere is pretty good at capturing the blue side, the blue wavelength of the light. So that's why like our sky is becoming more blue as the sun sets, but the sun becoming more yellow and red. So that's the thing, and that's how the color changes, but also why it becomes softer, because it has to travel farther, and as it travels further, it kind of disperse in a way, the light becoming more dispersed. And yeah, so sorry for that. I would like to kind of emulate that in our sun simulation. So to deal with that, we just have to deal with this angle, right? So if we play around with this angle, you would notice that the higher the number, the softer the shadows, right? So it goes from 0. If 0, it's really sharp. Like this is the shadows that you would get if you were standing on the moon. And for normal Earth, it's gonna be at noon. It's gonna be 0.5, something like that. It's the standard, and as it goes to dawn, I would like something higher, something probably 2, right? So it still get shape. I'm not gonna make it something like blurry like that, because it's not how it's supposed to look like. So 2 is good because it still has shapes, but it has some feathers in it. So yeah, so we gotta control the angle right now. So let's add another driver, and let's open Trevor's editor, and yeah, we just have to select the northwest Y rotation, and now we can apply the local space. And yeah, now we're gonna use far 180 pi. So that is too much, because that's gonna account to something like 90. We just have to divide it by 45. So there you go, 90 divided by 45 is 2, right? So it goes from, I think something is wrong, because it's a little bit softer than it's supposed to be. So the angle, yeah, that's too much. So yeah, it's 2. Oh, okay. Sorry for that, because the angle is already in in degrees, so this is gonna be not very accurate. Probably, what happened if I put 4? Oh, so as you can see that when you put 4, it's already translated to the correct angle. So we just have to kind of divide it by 45 to get the correct number. That is 2. And yeah. So, okay, now at noon, however, we want the sun to have 0.5 angle, right? So we're gonna have to put 0.5. However, that's not gonna be correct because this is in radian, so we just have to deal with that pi thing, I guess. And no, that's not. It's not a radian. Oh, sorry, just the pi, I think. No, that's not true either. So let's check our here, and I can deal with the sun and the angle a bit, and yeah. So you still divided by. Okay, so sorry for that. So it's not 0.5 really. It's 5. This thing, yeah, it works. So yeah, so basically what this does is, yeah, I'm not really sure how it works but I think because 5, let's give it a try. 0.5. Yeah, it's too much. I think it's true that the idea is 0.5 divided by 180 degrees, but it's gonna be a little bit too much, so just 5 works fine. And yeah, so hey, cool. Now we got this very sharp shadows at noon, and when it goes to the afternoon, it's a little bit softer, and when it's dark, very beautiful, right? So there you have it. So however, you would notice that if you think that this is a little bit too bright, I mean, so for example, I mean, like, if you think this is a little bit too bright, you can actually put some sort of a you can put back some strength. Okay, now you can put something like 10. Yeah, you can put some, you can divide this by a number so that the strength is not too overwhelming. So now it's kind of scaled down from 90 to 0 to 9 to 0, right? So let's give it a try. Now if you go to 90, right, the strength of the sun is gonna be still 0, and but when it's at noon, it's not too bright, and you can control it with this divider, right? So you can put any number. You can put 10. If you think it's a little bit too dim, you can put it 5, for example. Sorry, wrong place. Maybe I should, yeah, should turn it off. So this one. So if you go to sun and you go to strength, you can put this back to something like 5 so that it's not too dim. And yeah, now you can play around with the 45, for example. You can play around with the north and south. You can play around with the west, and yeah, find the best angle for your project, and voila, now you can use this anywhere you need them to be. So yeah, I guess that's it for the sunlight tutorial. However, yeah, I cannot really promise anything, but I really have something big in the making, and it has something to do with uh, modeling. So I hope you excited by that. And so yeah, I guess that's it for the sunlight. So see you later.